So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you a really neat device here called Azure Percept, but it's really important to know that it's not just a device, it's actually a complete ecosystem. So I'm going to show you just how easy it is to get started with IoT and AI at the edge. So my name again is Carrie Payette, and you can reach me on Twitter at Carrie Payette. But I am a senior software engineer. As Laurent mentioned, I have my own business called Trillium Innovations. But I am also a Science partner, so I do a lot of work with Science and absolutely love those people. So definitely check them out. All right. So, first question that we have to get into is what is Azure Percept? So Azure Percept is a combination of hardware, software, and services aimed to accelerate business implementations of IoT at the edge. So the hardware itself is the Azure Percept DK or development kit, and it's available for purchase in certain areas of the world. So it's not available completely worldwide yet, but it may be available in your area. So it retails for $349 US, and this includes the base unit and the Percept Vision device. So optionally, you can add the Percept audio device for an extra $79. So as for the software, Azure Percept is at the end of the day an IoT edge device. So this means that the device can run Docker containers in the form of IoT edge modules. So these modules are deployed via IoT Hub. So when an Azure Percept device is set up, it will actually go through all of the provisioning of the IoT Edge modules that it needs to run out of the box with your IoT hub automatically. So the experience to get up and running with Azure Percept is a simplified one. So to support its base functionality, of course, we're looking at things like vision and speech in this case. So Azure Percept itself integrates with IoT Hub and cognitive services such as custom vision and speech. All right, so out of the box, there is vision demos that can be deployed literally with a single click, and I'm going to show you a demo of just how easy that is to do. So essentially single click deployment of general object detection. So this is exactly the model that gets deployed on your device by default. So you don't actually have to do a physical deployment when you do your first setup. It actually comes with the general object detection model already loaded on the device. But you also have the ability to add people detection, products on the shelf. So if you see any of the marketing demos for Percept, you'll see like bananas on the shelf of a store, and it's identifying when it needs to be replenished. And there's also vehicle detection, and I have seen some videos from the community out there that people actually mounted this device in their cars and were able to use the vehicle detection model on the road. So voice demos are also included. So that includes things. Essentially, it's like an environment, a virtual environment, if you will, for hospitality, healthcare, inventory, and automotive. So essentially, what you're looking at is voice assistants, AI assistants that will you can control these virtual environments with your voice. And of course, those are just used as a sample or as a starting point for you to start implementing your own assistant in your own environments. Now, there's also a couple of end-to-end scenarios, and when I say end-to-end, I mean that it includes a few more services than what you would use just with these out-of-the-box modules or models, I should say. So the these end-to-end scenarios are sample applications, and it requires additional services to be functional. So, for example, people counting application, there's things like storage accounts that get created, um, and data is essentially stored in other services, but what it does give you is that example of an actual architecture where Percept is involved. So it's not just, oh, here's a model doing a thing. There's actually storage going on, there's functions being written, there's actual logic being used. So do take a look at those sample applications as well. And rest assured that inside of Synapse Studio, when you go to actually deploy one of those sample applications, that it will actually deploy everything that you need. So it really is very much a hands-off approach. So the people counting sample application that I mentioned is the one that's actually shown on the screen right now. So this application allows a user to not only identify and count people that are in the visible frame of a streaming video, but it also allows the user to define polygons and count people residing within the polygon. There's also another example application called Vision on the Edge, which provides that foundation for a very large scale IoT vision architecture. So the deployments of each of these applications and their associated architectures has been customized and automated for Azure Percept. Now, Azure Percept Studio is what I'm going to be showing and spending most of our time in today. It provides that one-click deployment of those models, but you can also create your own custom ones. So you can create custom models in Azure Custom Vision or Azure Speech Studio. So that is if you want to do that no code vision approach or speech approach and easily deploy them to Azure Percept. But if you do require a little bit more of an advanced vision or audio AI, you can also create your own models to deploy to Azure Percept devices. So let's talk about that just for a moment. So when you do wish to create your own vision models, you can use whatever framework that you wish. So if you're comfortable with TensorFlow or PyTorch, feel free to continue using those. So the only thing that you really do need to ensure is that whatever format that you store the resulting model in, that it must be able to be converted into OpenVINO IR. And you need to make sure that all ops layers are supported by OpenVINO version 2021.1. So then you can use OpenVINO Workbench to convert the model into OpenVINO IR. And lastly, you need to have a little bit of a wrapper. So when I say a wrapper, it's essentially the execution containment of the model. So luckily for us, though, um, there's examples of this type of wrapper, but essentially what it is it's a C++ subclass that will essentially wrap your model and be able to execute that on the device. So, as much as it sounds daunting, you might not be a C++ dev, and that's actually okay. Rest assured that there's examples and tutorials on how to do this in GitHub, as well as sample notebooks that are out there that show you how to train your custom models for deployment as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to switch my camera to an overhead. So give me a moment here while I switch that over. Here we go. And now you should actually see my desktop. So this is the equipment that's currently available within the Azure Percept DK or development kit. So over here, right here is the main base unit. So the main base unit runs really quietly because this entire device is a heat sink. So it actually has quite a bit of heat on it. But what they did was they really equipped that with such large heat sinks that it doesn't require fans. So it really is out of sight, out of mind, and it's not going to create any noise inside of your environment. So that is really, really cool. All right, the next one right here is the actual camera. So the camera itself is, I don't know, you probably see that a little bit better there. But the camera itself is available on this device here, and then these hinges are completely adjustable. And of course, as with everything, there's a nice large heat sink on there to make sure that that device also does not get heated up. And then the last one here is the optional one, and this is the audio module. So the audio module again has its own adjustment. So right now it's just folded right up, but if I wanted to arch that up in an angle, for instance, I can do that. There's multiple buttons as well as four separate microphones that are available to us on that audio device. All right, so let's go ahead and switch back over to my screen now. Let me open up Percept Studio. Okay. Oh, I guess I should probably switch my camera back. Do-do-do. There we go. Okay. All right. So inside of Azure, what I did was I actually created a resource group, and this resource group is um, essentially just a container for what I wanted to deploy for my Azure Percept device. So here you can see I have an IoT hub. Now this is the prerequisite for actually registering your Azure Percept device. So I created a standard IoT hub. I also have a speech service. I have an update service. So actually updated my devices. I will not get into that too much because of time constraints, but you can use IoT Hub's updates for over-the-air updates. All right. So to open up Azure Percept Studio, it's really just as simple as starting to type Percept Studio, and it comes up. So I'll go ahead and select that. And now you'll see that we have Azure Percept Studio, and it'll give you different entry points. So if you want to create a new AI model, view the sample applications, or learn about the advanced tools, you can go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the demos and tutorials. So these are essentially those one-click deployment um, one-click deployment models that you can use. So you can say, I want to try out sample vision models, and it'll ask, which device to release it to. And I only have one device here, but here you can see the general object detection. Again, that is the default one that gets pushed over. People detection, products on shelf, and vehicle detection. So that's all available to us there. We also have speech. So let's take a look at some of the voice assistant templates. And here you can see that we have the hospitality, the healthcare, the inventory, and the automotive. And essentially, what that does is it pre-populates different commands that you can use to control various environments, just virtual ones in this case. But it gives you that starting point. Now, a lot of times, though, you're going to be wanting to do your own thing. So I have in this demo, I've created a vision project called Pet Finder. And Pet Finder is actually a custom vision um, project. So if I go ahead and I select this, you'll see that I have my model information, but the model actually was not trained within Azure Percept Studio. It was actually created directly within my custom vision. So if I come out to custom vision, sign in, you'll see that I have this pet finder where I have multiple images of my pets tagged within custom vision to identify my pets. And the reason for that is because when you are trying to do a virtual conference, obviously the people counter would be an awesome in person model to use because you'll have people in the room. But when you're presenting by yourself, identifying one whole person in the room is not very entertaining. So I created my own custom vision model to identify my pets. One of which is in this room, which you probably already heard because he was not being the quietest at the beginning. But anyway, so inside of the vision, though, one thing that I would like to show you is this image capture feature. And what this allows you to do is actually integrates the um, custom vision project with Azure Percept Studio. So Azure Percept Studio has the connection to my device, has the connection into my camera that I showed you that's sitting on my desktop. And you have the ability to do automatic image capture from your device itself. So what this does is it really streamlines the movement of moving those pictures into custom vision for tagging. So if I come back to here, you can see that I have multiple of these images. Some of them are just photos that I had, but some of them were actually sitting down at my desk and uploading these images directly into um, custom vision. And the way I did that was I just said, I want you to take one frame every 5 seconds for 25 pictures, right? So it is able to do that upload, and then you can go into custom vision and do the tagging that you need in order to create and train your model. And then, of course, I trained my model in here using the train button, and I was able to actually upload that. So back into our vision finder, I can go to this evaluate and deploy. And again, this integrates directly within custom vision. And I have multiple iterations of the model. So I have iteration one, which you could see was not ideal. And then I have iteration two, which is a little bit better. But what's really important, though, is that this integration and this automated movement of the frames into custom vision for tagging, the more you get tagged, the better your models will perform. So retraining is always a really big deal. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at my devices. So you can see here that I have my Azure Percept devices connected. So that's the one that's sitting on top of my desk right now. And I can go ahead and select that. And here we can see that I do have an update available, so I'll be doing that probably today. But you could also see that we have our vision and our speech model mod module. Module and model are very close together. But you can see that we have those available to us. I also can open this device in IoT Hub. So remember, at the end of the day, every Percept device is really just an IoT edge device. So that means that if you wanted to deploy your own um, IoT edge modules, you can do that just as you would with any regular IoT edge device. So if I go into my set models modules here, you can see that we have some default ones that are deployed automatically with Percept. So I have not added anything to this. This is what comes out of the box. So we have the WebStream module, the Azure Eye module, image capturing module, host IP module, and Azure Ear Speech Client module. So those are all available to us. And again, right at the end of the day, it is just a basic IoT edge device. All right. So let's go ahead and come back here to our device itself. And I'm going to go to Vision, and I can actually open up a Vision stream. So I'm going to go ahead and view the stream. And what that's going to do is it's actually going to connect to my device. So I'm going to wave at you. Hi, how are you? I'm going to tilt this way just a little bit, and I'm going to go get my my co-host here. That's not very quiet. Okay. And there you can see that, of course, not with his butt, but you saw that it actually identified him. There's Archie with some various various results there. But there you can see that it uses my custom vision model that I trained with, pictures of him and my other co-host, which doesn't like to be in the same room with this co-host. The other one probably would have been quieter, but that makes it all available. All right, so let's go ahead. Well, that's a great image to have. So there he is. His name is Archie, and I'll see if he'll actually go back, which he probably won't because he's stubborn. All right. Okay, so always remember to capture additional images and improve your model. So retraining images over time is always, always, always a good thing. All right, let me see if there was anything else I wanted to show you in here. So we have our devices, we have our vision projects, we have our speech. I already showed you that how easy it was to deploy. So if I wanted to redeploy iteration 1, for instance, I can go and select deploy model down here. And really that is essentially how easy it is to deploy the model. So I went to deploy model on my iteration 2. So probably, yeah, it's going to load the model here and give that a couple minutes. But what that did was it actually redeployed my model iteration 2. I realized I didn't train a new one. It's just deploying the same model over again. But I wanted to show to you just how easy it is to have your custom vision models be deployed to the Percept device and be able to be run. So that is essentially all that goes into. All right. So Laurent, did I have any questions?
Hey, Carrie, actually, you don't have questions. I think that everybody understood what you are showing, and I think it's pretty cool indeed. I think all those devices work together, and really the power of AI on the device, right? Which is what the edge means, right?
Mm-hmm. And to make it attainable too. So you saw that I didn't have to sling any code in order to get my own custom vision AI models deployed, but you still have that option if you wanted to, right? So if you wanted to really have that firm control over your vision and audio models versus in other models too, you're not limited just to those. You have full control to, fire up a Jupyter notebook, train your own models using the frameworks that you want. Like I said, the only requirement was to, when you do that, is to make sure that it's compatible with OpenVINO.
Right. And this is really, the strengths of those models that we have right now. I'm doing a lot of work with, Azure Cognitive Services, for example, which for me, I'm not a data scientist. I don't even impersonate one on TV or anything. And it can be really tricky to especially collect the data, train the data, and train your models and everything. And now you have really those models that you can use and reuse as a developer, or you can also go ahead and create your own if you prefer, and refine those existing models as well. So really, you have tons of different possibilities to do things in AI in the space these days, and this is really fascinating, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, to be able to have, that kickstart of even those larger solution applications. So like the people counter, I am totally bringing this to Dev Intersection in Vegas in December, flipping that camera around, and we're going to count the people in the room.
Okay.
It's a lot more compelling when you're, not sitting alone in an office doing a virtual presentation. But what I'll do is I'll actually record that. So if I do have a future virtual presentation, I can just say, here is, recording taken from.
Right.
But,
Well, so I have to say, seeing your bird today was really cool. Now I understand what you mean with what you meant, before the presentation when you told me your co-host was there as well. So very
yeah.
happy to have made his acquaintance.